Welcome everyone in Instructure EdTech Collective event here. Canvas Family is what I usually say, and we will be talking specifically about Canvas, but we welcome some of our fantastic partners from Respondus today, which is assessment tool for learning systems. Going to be talking about flexible exam proctoring inside Canvas with Ari Sowers. And Ari, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited that you are here. I know it was very quick jumping on as we're trying to talk through some of the tech stuff. So unfortunately, what happens is Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, like everyone has a decent amount of little tech minutia that they come on and say you have to go live immediately or you will lose this broadcast. Not sure why. Sometimes it happens, but we didn't want to lose this one, so we are here and we welcome you to the live stream. And I believe you're muted, which is okay. Now you're back. Hey, we're here. Super excited to share all of what Respondus has to offer, and specifically how it is kind of changing the game and the partnership with Canvas that you guys have. So Ari's going to kind of take it away. She's going to show you some screenshots, do all the demos. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please throw them in the chat below. We obviously are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. We will try our best to get those questions answered as we go, and we'll throw those in there. And then if anything's being promoted over the links here or any contact information, we'll also throw those in the comment section, so you guys will have that after the fact. Ari, welcome to the Instructure Canvas live stream.
Thank you, Eddie. This is so exciting. So thanks for the introduction. We'll roll with any of the tech stuff. We're happy. We do that all day, every day. So if it's all right now, I will go ahead and share a couple of screens I have.
Absolutely.
To show and talk through. Oops, sorry, I lost it there. Here we go. That window right there. To talk through what we want to share today in the time we have. So as Eddie alluded to, we're going to talk about the many kinds of online testing that occur across an institution, each requiring a little bit of a different approach for exam integrity. And we're going to share solutions from Respondus that integrate with Canvas to help meet your institution's need. And we're going to talk about one of our most excellent Canvas user institutions that we work with, who has had a great experience and has some really great strategies to share as well. Now, we know some of you might be new to our applications if you've never heard of Lockdown Browser or Respondus Monitor or even online proctoring. I'm going to do a very quick overview of what those applications are. And then talk about Navarro College in Texas, south of Dallas. That is our little Canvas user profile included today. Talk about some of the different scenarios for online testing and matching how our solutions can meet needs for those online testing environments. Answer some common questions that we'll anticipate you having. Share where you can learn more information from us. Best practices for implementing automated proctoring, and then take your questions. And as Eddie said, can be dropped in the chat as well. So brief overview, Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor are used by more than 1,500 colleges and universities around the world in more than 50 million exams last year alone. Now, I said colleges and universities, and I know that some of the audience might be in the secondary or K-12 arena. The session's really geared for our higher education customers. Of course, we work with K-12 districts. We have applications that we provide to K-12 schools as well. You might want to join our session next week at InstructureCon on October 7th, on demand or on the date of, to learn more about those. But moving on with what these solutions do is they help colleges and universities with all those different scenarios for giving tests, whether it's fully online, remote learning, classrooms and testing centers, your traditional face-to-face situations, or hybrid, blended, flexible classrooms, or those terminologies we've become awfully familiar with over the last year and a year or two or so. Lockdown Browser, and Respondus Monitor integrate seamlessly with Canvas. So we've been an Instructure partner from the very beginning. And these applications work with both new quizzes and classic quizzes. So no matter what your institution is using, either or both. And they also work with the devices your students use. So Windows and Mac, but also Chromebook and iPads. So jumping into what the applications are, Starting with Lockdown Browser. Lockdown Browser might be familiar, and it's kind of even self-explanatory in its name. It's a browser, it's a custom browser that locks down the student's device as they're taking that test in Canvas. For that reason, it was really designed for proctored settings when it's used by itself. So testing centers and classrooms where there might be a proctor there who can also manage, watch, observe students. Now, Lockdown Browser, when students are using it to take those tests and quizzes in Canvas, it's going to prevent them from printing the content of the test, capturing test questions, sharing them with other students, visiting other websites, Googling, accessing other applications, and so much more. In fact, because Lockdown Browser is a native application for the device the student's using, it can do far more things in preventing digital cheating than a plugin or a setting could. Now, Respondus Monitor is our other solution from Respondus that builds on Lockdown Browser. So it includes the locked browser, but what it does is it's a fully automated proctoring solution that's available on demand. So whenever those quizzes in Canvas are made available to students, that's when they can take them with Respondus Monitor from home or wherever. What it does is it uses the student's own webcam to record them as they're taking that Canvas quiz, and then it analyzes the video and exam session so that the instructor has meaningful results that they can use to determine if exam violations, integrity, honor code violations occurred. All of this together provides a really powerful deterrent to cheating. Students know they're being recorded. It helps ensure there's a fair test environment, reduces the instance where students might succumb to pressure to cheat, and it helps them understand the importance of doing their own work. But of course, instructors have access to a video and other data to make review efficient and determine if further review and following up with students is needed. And then one last option to mention that's included with a license of Respondus Monitor is something called Instructor Live Proctoring. This is a newer feature that builds on Lockdown Browser. So it prevents digital cheating and Canvas quizzes, but it allows instructors to observe and manage students through a video conferencing system like Zoom, Teams, any web-based video conferencing system. They can watch and observe students and interfere if necessary, but students are still allowed to use Lockdown Browser, which normally might block the use of something like Zoom. So it's for live instructor proctoring. And again, that's a part of the Respondus Monitor license. So now that we have an idea of exactly what we're talking about in terms of the Respondus applications, I want to talk about how one institution is actually using them. So Navarro College, as I mentioned earlier, is one of our institutions we work with. It's also a Canvas institution. They're semi-rural two-year college in Texas, south of Dallas, with a couple of campus locations and about 9,000 students in total. They were looking for, and this is back a couple of years ago, a cost-efficient proctoring solution because that could help ensure integrity for their online tests, both for online classes and for giving students some flexibility. In addition, they needed to meet some accreditation requirements to verify the identity of students, but yet not break the bank. They needed a solution for exam proctoring that would not take a lot of funding. We talked with Matt Miller, who's the Dean of Online Instruction there, and he shared their experiences using Respondus Monitor and how they landed on a proctoring solution. So the factors in their decision were pricing, obviously, we mentioned that already, ease of adoption and use. Now, they knew that they needed something that would be really easy for faculty and students to use, and they actually did an informal survey of colleges nearby and colleagues, and the name Respondus just kept coming up. So knowing those other institutions had selected Respondus for their exam integrity solution, and that we had been around for a long time, Respondus has been around for 20 years, that stability and the reputation was really important to them too. They did a pilot of Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor back in 2019, and then rolled the solution out in the fall of 2019 for that fall semester. And you can probably guess what happened next. That pandemic that hit all of us created a greater demand for online course delivery and online tests. And faculty who began delivering assessments online through Canvas found online proctoring to be a necessity, not a nice to have, but actually really a need. So it did force some instructors out of their comfort zone with that kind of online testing. Fast forward to 2021, where things are a little bit more settled on campus. Right now, what Navarro College do is that they allow the individual departments on campus to determine the method of testing and the level of security for exams that the department wants to use. So there's a bit of freedom there amongst faculty and instructors. But once that decision is made, it's rolled out across the entire department. So there's standardization of how tests are delivered and the security of exams across that topic. What that means is there's a nice consistent experience for students, and it avoids situations where students might cherry pick sections of classes where maybe one is less strictly proctored. And Navarro College supports online proctoring, but it also gives students choices with on-campus testing centers, off-campus testing centers for taking exams too. Now, with the staff of just one director and a faculty expert, Navarro College offers weekly professional development opportunities for their instructors and boilerplate text that can be inserted into the syllabus to help, again, ensure that consistency. And this link here is to a website it's on their website, a page on their website that outlines all of those options. So they're very clear also with their communication out to faculty and students about what options are there and what those expectations are. One interesting note for those of you that are outside of Texas, by law, courses are required to provide the syllabus to students before they register. Well, it doesn't happen everywhere. So students aren't surprised when they register for a course and here are the options for taking your tests, whether it's online or face-to-face or a combination. So here's some statistics on Navarro's use of Respondus Monitor over the past 2 years. In 2020 and 21, they used Respondus Monitor with more than 35,000 exam sessions. 5 tests per course was about the average. That makes sense. Midterm final, a couple quizzes, if that's how they're using it. And there were more than 400 courses who'd adopted Respondus Monitor. If we look at this year, just August 2021 to earlier this week, they have over 3,300 exam sessions that they've used so far in more than 90 courses. And that number will grow, of course, as the semester goes on and the year goes on in different semesters too. So they've used it quite a bit. Now, we've talked about how Navarro College provides options for both faculty and students on how assessments are delivered or taken. Now I want to look at how Respondus Monitor and Lockdown Browser can provide options to institutions even beyond what we've already discussed in those different ways that institutions need to support online testing. Now, we touched on these earlier, but I'll go through the scenarios and kind of match them to the solutions that we provide. Starting with your traditional face-to-face classrooms where students are together and the instructor is with them, Lockdown Browser, that's where it's mostly used. That in-person environment where there's a high degree of supervision, preventing students from accessing unauthorized resources off the device or maybe a second device. Proctor testing centers is another place where Lockdown Browser is very commonly used. Maybe there's a proctor present watching students, checking them in. Maybe the test is protected by that access code setting, so they let students into the test. But there might be situations in testing centers where either there aren't enough staff to proctor all the students, or institutions are looking to reduce costs by offering, the testing center part, but without the staff. Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor are also quite frequently used in those in-person environments. What's important here is that it's automated proctoring. So students can use the desktops that have webcams or bring their own laptops, but they're still being recorded by Respondus Monitor, and that video and data is still being processed and provided back to the instructor. But maybe there's a proctor at the door who's checking students in, checking their ID. So it might be a lower degree of supervision, or maybe it's an option for students who simply don't have, the resources at home. The testing center's quieter, maybe the internet access is better, so it gives them more options. Now, of course, Respondus Monitor and Lockdown Browser can support those fully remote tests, whether that means you're just supporting your fully online programs or instructors are teaching remotely, even temporarily. This is where Respondus Monitor and Lockdown Browser are used quite a bit. It's a fully automated proctoring solution. Tests can take place at a set time. Maybe it's 1 o'clock on Tuesday or anytime within a window using the settings in the Canvas quiz. What's important though too is that students don't have to schedule anything, check in, or register on another website. It's all built into the Canvas course. Now, there might be times when instructors also want an option to watch students as they're taking tests, but those tests need to be delivered remotely. That's where the Instructor Live proctoring feature and Lockdown Browser work really well for that sort of remote but live environment. So again, instructors are able to watch students take the tests as they're in Lockdown Browser. So Lockdown Browser is still preventing digital cheating, and the instructor is acting as a proctor in that Zoom or Teams or Meet or whatever video conferencing system is being used. Now, our applications can also support, and this is one thing that we talked about a lot over the last couple of years, is where institutions or instructors want to make arrangements for students who maybe can't use a webcam or don't have a place to take tests at home. They prefer an on-campus environment, but maybe that's not all the students in the class. Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor have an option called the webcam optional setting that allows the instructor to set the test up so that students can choose. I'd rather go to a proctored testing center, sit down in front of a computer, take the test there. That means the student would use Lockdown Browser, and the test would be protected by an access code or password, so a proctor has to let them in. If the student decides to take the test from home, they're using Respondus Monitor and Lockdown Browser. They're being recorded. So this is a great way to give students a little bit more flexibility too. And then, of course, there's that hybrid, blended, high flex environment where and students might be in the classroom and some students might be remote all at the same time, and instructors are going to manage both. This is where instructors might want a little bit more supervision of those remote students, and they're still giving some of their tests in person. You can actually work with both groups of students at the same time with that Instructor Live proctoring feature. What that'll do, instructors set up to allow Instructor Live proctoring, and the remote students would join that Zoom session and then take their test in Lockdown Browser, while the in-person students are using Lockdown Browser by itself because they're sitting with the instructor. Now, I went through those quickly. I know there's a lot of options here. They all give instructors and students a choice and greater flexibility for institutions to meet the needs in all of these different types of testing scenarios. Now, since we're talking about proctoring students remotely, and with Respondus Monitor, we're recording students and collecting data about the exam session, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about student data privacy and student data security. Respondus Monitor Respondus, the company, takes these areas very, very seriously. And we use an approach called privacy by design, which means we put privacy and security at the center of everything we do. So Respondus Monitor, for example, gathers and stores as little personal information as possible to effectively proctor and analyze exam sessions. In particular, the collection of personally identifiable information, or PII, is kept to a minimum. In fact, no biometric data is ever stored on Respondus servers. Now, Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor are in use by some of the largest online programs in the world, more than 1,500 institutions all over the place, and they've been vetted by those programs. And our applications comply with FERPA, GDPR, CCPA. If you're not familiar with those acronyms, that's okay. Your data privacy officer, your risk management teams are. And we comply with those regulations and laws. And we also have documentation and support of them for institutions that need it. And one thing to keep in mind, I talked about earlier that seamless integration with Canvas. One of the things that means is that when an instructor, or when there is a video of a student who's taken a test that requires Respondus Monitor, only the instructor is able to see that video and student data. And that's through the login credentials they have for Canvas. So that leaves the determination of whether or not a student cheated in the hands of the right people, and it also protects that student data. Now, another way that we try to make, in addition to that integration with Canvas, we try to make Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor easy to use is to provide some excellent resources for institutions who are getting started, or even instructors who are new. One is several free training webinars. We offer weekly and custom trainings for institutions who need it. There are a lot of resources built into the application itself. So within the Lockdown Browser tool that's in a Canvas course, instructors have right at their fingertips rapid rollout pages, frequently asked questions, templates for their syllabus, videos, guides. They can even schedule one-on-one meetings with a Respondus trainer like me to answer questions about best practices or how features work. Just as an example, that's what this looks like inside of Canvas. So once the integration with Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor has been established, instructors would access this dashboard, and you can see those resources right there before they even apply the settings. In addition, students have resources built into the application, including, most importantly, troubleshooting and live chat technical support. And that's available to students 24/7 by 365. And lastly, we have best-in-class ticket-based support for instructors, administrators, and other support staff when they need help too. Now, it's the flexibility in how Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor are used, as well as those resources that we just went through for instructors and students that enable rollout and adoption of these tools to go really smoothly. I'm going to return to Navarro College and discuss some of the best practices they implement to ensure effective use of these applications. First, they set expectations with faculty and students. This is really important. One thing that Navarro emphasizes is that technology isn't magic. Faculty also need to do their part in designing exams, in helping students understand what is considered cheating, and then ensuring that those exam integrity rules are actually enforced. They often will even remind students remote proctoring is a convenience, and it's a privilege. If students abuse that privilege, it can be revoked. Students also need to be taught what is considered cheating and what isn't. When students are used to looking things up on their phones all the time, these issues are sometimes unclear. Their goal is to clearly convey what an exam violation would be and encourage students to be people of integrity when it comes to taking assessments. So the goal of online proctoring is not to catch students cheating and end their college careers. It's to help them learn. Second, the support staff at Navarro provide faculty with boilerplates that they can use in their course and their syllabus. It enables faculty to pick and choose the pieces that they want to use or need, but it also helps to ensure consistency in messaging to students. In fact, here's an example from a beginning Spanish class and the integrity statement that's provided in that syllabus so students can clearly see what cheating is, what it isn't, and what the consequences are. Now, here's a few things that we say at Respondus all the time too, how important a practice quiz is for students. So individual instructors should allow students to have a chance to practice with new technology, ask questions, troubleshoot if needed. And practice quizzes are a great way to set expectations too. If students exhibit questionable behavior during that practice quiz, it's a great chance to stop it, educate the student about it before it's an issue with an actual graded exam. And lastly, Matt talks a lot about approaching academic integrity issues as teachable moments, helping our students understand why they have an honor code. Why is it important they do their own work, not just for a grade, but also for their later careers or just general human understanding and education. And here are some of Matt's own words. He said that Respondus Monitor was absolutely the right choice for Navarro College. The pricing is affordable and their support is stellar. The company has been around for many years and really understands online assessments. Respondus is truly a partner working with us to help students be good students. Thank you, Matt. We really appreciate that. But as Matt mentions, pricing is important. Cost is a key consideration for institutions to select an online proctoring solution. We're a big proponent of transparent pricing, so it's available on our website, and I'll take a minute here to kind of explain how these applications are licensed and priced for institutions. Start with Lockdown Browser. As I mentioned, it can be used by itself. And the way it's licensed is as an annual campus-wide license. Unlimited use, unlimited installations, all the devices I mentioned, all the support and all the training. Now, it can be used alone or with Respondus Monitor. The technology and the integration with Canvas is one and the same. And in fact, every higher education institution that licenses Lockdown Browser also has 200 seats of Respondus Monitor built in to their Lockdown Browser license. Now, a seat is one student per course, but it doesn't matter how many tests they take in that course or how long those tests are. And this is a great chance for institutions who already are using Lockdown Browser or thinking about using it with their testing centers and classrooms to try out the proctoring solution with a small class or two, or maybe a department. Now, if you want to go beyond those 200 seats and add a license of Respondus Monitor, every institution new to Respondus Monitor pays the same low flat rate for their first year license of just under $4,000 US. That includes up to 100,000 proctoring sessions. And what it does is it lets institutions try it out over a full academic year and more, see how much is going to be used in different areas of the institution without worrying about added costs or dealing with budgets in the course of that year. After that initial year, institutions have options for how they want to license Respondus Monitor. One of those options is student pay, or passing the cost to students in the form of an annual $15 US fee for unlimited courses and tests within Canvas. So we take care of the price, the payment information. It's right in the application, but it doesn't, make instructors have to make decisions about how many tests to give because of additional costs. Students pay the same annual fee for Respondus Monitor. Another option, if institutions want to pay for the license, is something called the tiered licensing model, which is based on tiers of 1,000 seats. So institutions can buy 1,000 seats at a time and add them at any time they need. So if there is unpredictable growth, that's okay. You can always add those seats later on in the year. And then finally, we offer unlimited licensing. Now, a lot of times institutions who start on a tiered license grow so much that they switch to this option. Many do. The pricing for unlimited is based on a variety of factors, including the size of the institution and type. But as the use of Respondus Monitor grows and when institutions switch to unlimited licenses, they wind up seeing the average cost per test that uses Respondus Monitor in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 cents per proctoring session. That's much less than what it costs to administer face-to-face paper-based exams. So a lot of times institutions see that as a cost savings and not an expense. And again, you can find details for all of these options right on our website. So to wrap things up and give us time to take some questions, we hope we shared with you today how Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor can provide the flexibility needed for the entire institution, regardless of the test environment, fully online, face-to-face, or hybrid. We help maintain the integrity of online exams. Lockdown Browser preventing digital cheating, Respondus Monitor with its powerful deterrent to cheating in those remote environments. And our applications are very scalable, 10,000 students, doesn't matter, and easy to use with the built-in applications, support for training, and integration with Canvas. Now, security and privacy we discussed are a top priority at Respondus. Remember that Respondus gathers and stores as little personally identifiable information as possible, and no proctors are watching students or reviewing recorded video. Only the instructor can see the video and student exam data within Canvas. And Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor are really the only truly cost-effective solution for online proctoring. Customers with unlimited licenses, as we said before, often pay as little as 25 cents per test. And we offer any institution who wants to try these applications out a free, unlimited use 2-month pilot. All the features are the same, technical support, training, and all that included. And you can find pricing details right on our website. So thank you so much for the time today. That's our website for more information, our account management team's email address if you want to reach out. We also are going to have a virtual exhibit next week at Instructure Con. Don't forget to stop by and visit on October 7th, or you can also watch our sessions on demand afterwards. And we will be giving away, I forgot to put that on the slide, but we're going to be giving away a Microsoft Surface Pro if you visit our virtual exhibit either the day of the conference or later.
Wow. So let's leave this session up. That we have over 100 people joining us live, which is absolutely fantastic. Respondus is a huge topic, obviously, out there with our community. So we're super excited to have everyone join. I always say, like, this session's got juice, and it does. We have a ton of comments and questions in the chat. So we're going to throw some up. We might not get to all of them. And if we don't get to all of them, I have been advised to throw this email address into the chat. So you'll see those coming into the comments. It's just training@respondus.com. If we don't get to your question today, make sure you send them an email. They'll be more than happy to answer your question. I think we'll start with, obviously, lots of ones coming in. I think we'll start with this one here from Computing Caruso. I think I'm saying that right. What if student's webcam is not working or suddenly has a driver issue? Does Monitor let us know that the camera is suddenly not working or unavailable? And can students use a phone camera? And let's make it so we don't cover the face up of our guests. We'll get rid of our slide deck there. So I'll let you handle this one, Ari.
Yeah, so the troubleshooting that's built into Respondus Monitor actually includes a series of pre-exam checks that require the student to do a webcam check. So basically, if there is a problem with the webcam, they didn't plug it in the right place, the driver's not working, our troubleshooting and technical support helps students overcome those issues, walk them through the fixes, give them instructions. They can live chat with somebody. By the way, our live chat are real people. They're very highly trained. They're not bots. So they actually can work with a student in real time to solve those issues before they even start the test. They can't use cell phone cameras, though. They have to use a camera that is part of the device they're using to take the test. So whether it's the kind that like shows up in your monitor or laptop screen or the kind you plug in, it doesn't matter. But those pre-exam checks will help the student with any possible webcam issues. And it's also another reason that, Navarro College and we always recommend a practice quiz, because that's going to get some of those things sorted out. Things can always change. We know that, but giving students a chance to test out that webcam if it's new or they've never used it before.
Awesome. Another question here is Respondus LDB and Monitor 100% compatible with the new Canvas quizzes? We'll be switching our system to new quizzes in advancement of enrollment on July 2022.
Yes, we have supported new quizzes for, I can't even remember how long, almost since new quizzes have been around, I think. But yes, they work. There's a slight difference, in the student experience. I'm trying not to be biased, but it is a little more seamless for students with new quizzes. They launch Lockdown Browser right away inside of a Canvas, inside a standard browser. But the way the applications work between the two types of quizzes is the same. So you can use them interchangeably even if you need to.
Awesome. We've had this question come through a couple of times. We'll take Melissa C's here live on air. Are there any plans to get a chat-based support system? Students often need help immediately. That same question was asked again by Beth here. How do students get to the live chat? So is that something that's available?
Yeah, so as I was saying before, students have access to that live chat in the Respondus Monitor application as part of the pre-exam steps. There's a couple other ways they can get to it from just Lockdown Browser if they're not in the test yet. So that's already been there. That's been there for, probably a year and a half now. So they have live chat access. If you're talking about chat during the test, we don't give them communication tools by design. Respondus Monitor is, originally was sort of conceived as a tool for asynchronous testing, although it's often used for synchronous testing. If students are really having kind of an emergency issue in the middle of a test, we can guide the instructor with some options over things you can do to prepare students for that kind of potential emergency, but there wouldn't be a communication tool available to them in the test itself, because that could also be used as an exploit.
Awesome. We have a number of other questions, but again, if you have questions, training@respondus.com. Ari, I'm also going to make a shameless plug here in the chat to the Instructure Con 21 happening next week, October 7th. Registration still open, so you can register. It is a free event that we provided Instructure and all of Canvas Family to be a part of something really cool. And you guys have a session going on at Instructure Con, so some of these questions can probably be answered there, correct?
Yes, and we'll be at the virtual booth the whole time too. We actually have two sessions, one for higher education institutions and one for K-12.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll also give a shout out to the lady behind the curtain, Erin, who was able to kind of do some things in the private chat and help me with some links and email addresses. We appreciate you so much for being there and helping out. Ari, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time. As always, keep learning out there.